Today we'll be building this simple glass effect. As you can see, I have this variant, an even more blurred variant, and the most blurred variant. It will require only HTML and CSS, it will be only just a few lines, and I want this video to be really quick, but in a manner that you can still get the value out of it. So with that, let's get started. Now for starters, we have an empty index.html and an empty style.css. Among our files, I also have our background, and I do have a logo that we'll be using, and there is an extension called live server, and I can right click on our HTML and open it with live server. That means I won't be having to constantly refresh the window for the changes to take effect. And in our HTML, I start with an exclamation mark. This will give us our basic HTML structure, give here a title, and also link our CSS just like this. Our HTML is going to be very simple. I will create here a div, and this div is going to have a class glass effect. For now, I won't put anything into this. Let's go to our CSS. I'll start by styling our body. First of all, I reset the default margin to 0. I'll set its height to be 100 viewport height units and its width to be 100%. I will set its background image to be URL, and then I can point at our background.jpg. As for the background position, I will say it should be centered. The background repeat should be no repeat, in case our image is smaller and the browser wants to repeat our image. And the background size should be covered. I'll also apply a font family here just in case, and this will be a built-in font family called Helvetica. Now let's style our glass effect. This glass effect will be a div, and for this, first of all, we'll have to give some width and some height for it. It won't be visible right now, so I'll just give a background color of white, and I will also give some padding of 10 pixels. As you can see, the div appears on the top left corner, and that's not what I want. I'd like for this div to be in the center, and for that I'll come to our body. I'll say display flex, which will enable flexbox properties. Then I'll justify the content to the center on the horizontal axis, and I then align the items to the center on the vertical axis as well. I will also apply a border radius here. This border radius will be 20 pixels. This will round the corners of our glass effect. I will also apply a box shadow here. The first value for this will be 5 pixels. This will mean it will be pushed on the x-axis by 5 pixels. Then 10 pixels, which means it will be offset on the y-axis by 10 pixels. And then how much blur should the shadow have, which I say 20 pixels. And then simply give an RGBA value, and I say 0, 0, 0, which is basically black. But for the alpha, I'll say 0.4. This gives a little bit of shadow to our container, which is not yet too visible. And now for the glass effect, I will remove the background color from here. This div, since it has the box shadow, already has kind of a glass effect. It's a really clean glass effect if you want to play with this. But you can also simply say backdrop filter, and here there is a value called blur, which receives a pixel value, and I can say 2 pixels, and it will blur our little image. Or I could also say 5 pixels, and it will blur even more, or 10 pixels. These were the 3 variants that I showed you. For now, I stick with the 2 pixel one. So the important components about this is the backdrop filter and the box shadow, because the box shadow will make sure that it seems like it's elevated. You can also play around with the X value, for example, to be 20, but I stay at 5. And the other important value is the backdrop filter, which will blur out your image. For styling purposes, I also included here the image tag, which has a border radius of 100% and some width and height. And also in our glass effect, I'll say text align center and font weight 800. And I'll go back to our index.html and create here an h1, an h2, and an image. These will be the values for these, and our glass effect is completely working. One last thing to note here is that if you apply a background color with, for example, a 0.5 opacity, You can change the color of your glass effect. I can also make this a little more bluish, or whatever you'd like. For now, I'll just comment this out from here, and we're done. I hope you enjoyed it. I tried to keep it short and on to the point. If you found value in this video and would like to see more, please consider giving us a like. Comment us down below what would you like to see next. And with that, I hope to see you in the next one. Happy coding and God bless.